So yesterday I was craving bubble tea,
Hmm.
love bubble tea. Went to the local store, and for the millionth time, I was just amazed by one item on the menu,
Uh-huh.
chai tea.
Yeah, chai tea.
Chai tea.
Yes.
Yeah. And you guys are probably wondering what's wrong with chai tea. I mean, nothing is wrong with it.
It's
It's
delicious.
delicious. However, the problem is in the meaning of chai tea.
Uh-huh.
Because when you're asking for chai tea or when you're saying chai tea, you're basically saying
Tea tea
tea tea
or chai chai,
or
depending on where you're from. Yeah.
exactly, depending on where you're from.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's a
today,
little pet peeve of mine as well.
yes.
Yeah.
And when I see it, I mean, it's cute,
Sure.
kinda, because
Yeah.
like it's a little like language intricacy,
Yeah.
but still it's like,
Yes.
it still like bothers me.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I guess in like American cafes or coffee shops,
Uh-huh.
chai tea is a specific like spiced tea. So I
Uh-huh.
guess that's how they differentiate, although the origin of that word is very
Exactly.
different,
It's all
right?
about, it's not about the drink per
Yes.
se. It's about the origin of the words chai and
Yes,
tea.
exactly.
But today we wanted to talk to you about something very, very interesting, and it's about how words travel to other languages
Hmm.
and how did this whole language soup and word soup happen
Yeah,
and why some languages share the same words.
exactly. And for those of us that have experience with,
Hmm.
learning another language or people who are, people who can speak two or three or four, whatever, how many different languages, you do notice there are specific words that sound suspiciously familiar in, between a couple of languages. And,
Hmm.
this is something that we always talk about a lot. We've had conversations about this. Like we've had the
So,
chai tea conversation a couple
mhm.
of times. And you know what? We thought, why don't we do what we love and do a little deep dive into a couple of these words? Maybe like,
Yeah.
where did they come from? Why and why?
How did this
Yeah,
happen?
why?
Yeah. How did they spread around the world? I
Exactly.
mean, it does make sense because people at some point spread around the
Course,
world.
of course. And I think a lot of it kind of, our hypotheses that we've had with certain
Uh-huh.
words actually turned out to be pretty accurate, right? So the word chai, we've talked about it a couple of times and we've had like little theories about how this word has traveled between certain lands
Mm-hmm.
and countries. And so let's talk a little bit about this word chai or cha in
Uh-huh.
other languages. So this tea, basically it's tea, and tea spread just it was widespread through China, through the Silk Road. This is a really interesting part of history if you want to look up the Silk Road, the history of the Silk Road, but it's a huge part of history and how
Mm-hmm.
things were,
It's the
you know,
history of trade, basically, how it
basically,
all
yeah, the
started.
history of trade. And so in a lot of different dialects of China, so in the Chinese languages, tea is pronounced as cha. And so this pronunciation of cha spread through these areas. So, when you think about Central Asia, we've got Korea. I know for a fact that in Korean, we say cha for tea.
There you
So
go.
that's where it comes from. Also, places like Persia, India, the Middle East, and then over into Eastern Europe, which is very interesting as well. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the route of the Silk Road. And so, yes,
Taking by road.
yes,
That's what I wanted to mention. Very important
yeah,
that this is how this commodity was transported to those places that Hannah just named
yeah,
by land. And thus, if it traveled by land, it was called cha,
yeah,
or how we say in Ukrainian, chai. In
yeah.
Russian, we say chai. And then in some other languages like Arabic, I
Arabic,
guess, Hindi,
Hindi,
they also say
Turkish,
chai.
chai, it's all chai.
We're not sure about the pronunciation though. Sorry.
So then, where did tea come from?
Tea, very interestingly, the European traders got tea mainly by sea from ports in again southeastern China. where in that region of China, people were pronouncing or calling this drink as te. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to properly
Yeah.
pronounce it, but that it was like te. And that's why when it traveled by sea to all of the other regions of the world, mainly Europe, it was pronounced as te. And some examples, including English, where it's called tea, including French, where it's called te, German, where it's pronounced te, Spanish, te, I guess, again. I'm
Maybe.
sorry again. Italian, Roberta's gonna butcher us, but I guess it's te as well.
Yeah.
So that's how it all happened.
And so it's so interesting because based on how this drink is said in a language, we can understand how this actual drink got there
Yeah.
in the first place. So if it traveled by road,
Mm-hmm.
most of these countries will pronounce it chai or cha or some variation of that. But if it traveled by sea, these countries they call it tea or te or again some
Some
variation
variation of it,
through
yeah.
that.
And then again, it's very interesting about like how the same country, right, like China, and different dialects. So one dialect was calling it cha, and the people who were living in the region, like coastal region, they were calling it te.
Yeah.
And there you go. The world got the same drink with two different names.
Yeah.
And in some countries, like Canada and the United States, they were like, you know what? We're gonna call it chai tea.
Although, you know, I think, again, this is gonna be a running theme throughout this episode
Hmm.
where we do talk about English and some words, some interesting words in English, but we do have this interesting redundancy in some of these words. So, like Helen said, chai tea is a type of tea, like a spiced tea
Hmm.
that you can get at, Starbucks or something like that. But this is not the only word that we have that is similar to this, right? People who do understand different languages may say, yeah, this is just TT, or you're just saying chai
Hmm.
chai. But also things like, I don't know if you've ever heard of naan bread.
Oh yes, naan bread. I love naan
Oh,
actually.
naan is amazing. It's
Naan bread is even better.
delicious. But basically, it's the same thing. Naan means bread, so you're just saying bread, bread, or the
The
Sahara
Sahara
Desert.
Desert, yeah.
Sahara means desert, so you're basically just saying desert, desert.
Uh-huh. Ooh, and my favorite from our students, ATM.
Yeah.
When you tell your students, like when you teach them the word ATM, they know this is the machine where you can withdraw money at the bank or somewhere in the street.
Hmm.
But then people call it ATM machine, which is automated teller machine machine.
Machine. Exactly. So it's very interesting how English has kind of used, I mean, no language is perfect, right? And
Mhm.
English is the most of all. It's the most imperfect of all, I would say. And it's really interesting that these are things that are just part of our everyday
Uh-huh.
language. But it's so nice to,
It's so nice.
yeah.
And again, these things became, as Hannah said, a part of our vernacular.
Hmm.
And it's not a mistake, okay? It's
No,
just like these little interesting and small things about the languages where
exactly.
things got mixed up and people are like, okay, we're gonna use it like this.
Yeah.
So another a great example is about Turkey. And I'm not talking about the country Turkey, although it's a beautiful country
The
that I should
delicious,
definitely visit.
delicious food we're
Delicious
talking about.
food. We're going to talk about bird, turkey.
Hmm.
So, did you know, Hannah, that in so many other countries in the whole world, including my home country, we call it an Indian bird?
No, an Indian bird.
An
So
Indian bird.
nothing related to Turkey.
Nothing related to turkey.
Okay.
And I have a very exciting story about the word turkey, about
Uh-huh.
the bird that is in some countries called turkey, and
Uh-huh.
in some countries it's called Indian chicken, Indian bird, or just like Indian, whatever. So this thing is also has something to do with the trade and the
Hmm.
route, how it got into countries, but also because humans are incredibly good at two things. First of all, trading exotic animals
Yeah.
across continents, and second of all, confidently naming them completely wrong.
That's right.
This is what we humans do. So the first great surprise comes that turkeys, da 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 da, drum roll, are actually from Mexico.
Really?
Yes,
So they're
turkeys.
originally from Mexico.
Turkeys are natural, not natural, original
Uh-huh.
to
Indigenous
Americas.
to
Yes,
the
and
Americas.
indigenous.
Yeah.
That's the word that I was looking for. Thank you so much. They're indigenous to Americas, mainly Mexico. That's
Okay.
the information that I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when Spanish explorers first brought turkeys to Europe, they, the Europeans, they received those birds by the Turkish trading routes by the sea. And they were like, okay, so we're gonna call them the turkey birds.
No way.
Yes.
So technically, turkeys were named after the country.
They were named after the country. They
Oh.
were named after the country, but just because they were again imported into Europe through merchants connected to the Ottoman Empire, which
Yeah.
was Turkey at that time. Yeah, so in England, people were like, they looked at the bird and it was like, ah, turkey birds, because they came from Turkey. But here comes the funny part because the Turkish people, they started blaming India. And by blaming, I mean by bringing the birds into
Uh-huh.
their country. Why? Very interesting as well. Because at that time, everything exotic was associated with India. Even if you guys remember Christopher Columbus, when he was sailing to Americas, he thought that he was
He
sailing
was
to
trying to
India.
trying to get to India.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everything exotic was thought to be come from India.
Mhm.
So when the birds finally found their ways to Turkey, Turkish people were like, "Oh my God, look at this exotic bird. We've never seen anything like this. It must be from India."
By the way, if you have never seen what a full-grown turkey looks like, I encourage you to look up a picture of a turkey. They are
Exotic.
that would be that would be a nice way of putting it. Exotic. Yeah. I don't know. Every time I come face to face with a turkey, which is not very often, uh I'm a little bit
Scared?
yeah.
They are scary.
Scare. I mean, they're an interesting looking bird for sure. They
Yes.
kind of look
Yes.
like they're not alive or not meant to be alive with
Oh,
all of the skin hanging off of them.
oh, okay. And doing the
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
yeah, so that is a funny and very interesting thing about this bird. Because in my first, so in English, they call them turkeys,
Yeah,
right? And then in Turkish language, they call them Hindi,
that's
which
so
means, I
interesting.
guess, from India.
Yeah.
Then in Ukrainian, we call it Indik.
Sounds like India.
India,
Yeah.
exactly. And then in Polish, they also call it Indek, which is again from India. In French, they do the same thing.
I never made that connection. I know the French word for turkey, dinde,
Dande, I
dinde,
guess.
and
Donde, dinde, don, I don't know. I sound like
it would
Korean.
mean
Donde.
it means, I guess, from
Yes,
India.
yes.
Oh,
The Ind, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I
the ind
see.
part.
Yeah.
From
Again, from
India, the
India,
with a D,
not from, belonging to.
belonging
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that is the thing about this bird. And I guess that in Arabic, they also call it, I have no idea how to pronounce the word, but they call it also like a Turkish rooster or something like that. So see, even in like very relatively close parts of the world, they still confuse them. And then the
Oh.
poor turkey standing there in the middle and is like, I'm literally from Mexico.
I'm Mexican.
Mexican.
So
Yeah,
much confusion.
a
That is
lot of
so
confusion.
interesting. And
Yeah, I love it.
this just goes to show how a lot of things just kind of happened by chance or by
Yeah.
accident in
Again, it was a global misunderstanding,
yeah.
but
Wow. Okay, so the Korean word for turkey is 칠면조. No idea where it comes from.
okay.
I have no idea. Maybe China has some sort of
Hmm.
related relation to it, but I should look that up for sure.
Okay, but
I'm
it has
curious.
nothing to do with like any country.
I have no idea. Chou could mean, you know what? I do not know enough to talk about it.
Hmm.
Let me look it up and maybe
Okay,
we'll talk
okay,
about it in the language
okay,
lab.
sure.
Yeah.
Love it.
But I guess, on this topic, both of these words, cha or chai, tea, and turkey,
Uh-huh.
they both involve India.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why? I guess it's interesting in history that we're thinking about like why India, right? Like why is India kind of in these two words or in a lot of different words, right? And it's because Europeans during this whole age, like you were mentioning Christopher
Hmm.
Columbus and all of this stuff, the Europeans actually used India, the word India, very loosely for a lot of different like exotic lands. I guess they just called
Yeah.
a bunch of things
Hmm.
India or Indian this or Indian that. I don't know if you know, but a long time ago, indigenous people of
Yeah.
the Americas, so people who are indigenous from Canada or from America. Now we do not say this because it is
Hmm.
politically incorrect, but they used to be called Indians, and this is the exact same thing, right?
Exactly.
Exact same mistake. Now we do not say this. In Canada, we say First Nations, and other countries we say indigenous, but yeah, for a while they were called uh, Indian,
Hmm.
and it was for this exact same reason.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What about some other words that traveled from, not traveled, I guess. We can talk about traveling later, but some words that are
Similar.
very, not only similar, but they're the same. Like the
Yeah.
first word that comes to mind is the word taxi.
Yeah,
Like basically anywhere in the world, taxi is called taxi.
that's right. Yeah, for sure in
I mean,
Korea.
I'm sorry, I'm exaggerating now by saying basically everywhere in the world, but I'm sure that like everywhere in the world, people know what taxi
I
is.
feel like most people would understand the word taxi to be
Hmm.
what it actually is, right? So, you know, taxi is one. We've also got, for example, chocolate. Yeah.
Chocolate.
Of course, pronunciation changes based on the phonetic
Hmm.
alphabet of
Hmm.
that country. So, for example, in Korea, we say taxi.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's slightly different. And then I
Hmm.
believe in Japan it's takushi. I think they add in
Hmm.
another syllable there. So just different pronunciations. Chocolate is
Chocolate.
another one. In Korean we say chocolate
Uh-huh.
and yeah,
Interesting. I guess it's the same for words like hotel.
yeah,
Also, like everybody knows what hotel is. Yeah.
banana.
Banana. Yeah,
We
banana.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we could list hundreds and hundreds of words that kind of share meaning across
Hmm.
different languages. But why don't we talk a little bit about why some of these languages share words?
Oh my God. This is like the nerd is me. It's
Yeah,
so heavy. It's like,
so
oh my God.
excited.
Yeah, so excited to
Yeah.
talk about it. So, you guys probably know that languages are like people, they belong to families. And if two languages are in the same family, they often share similar grammar, similar sounds, and vocabulary. Again, because they are descended from a common ancestor.
Yeah.
And there is this beautiful thing that is called the family tree of
Hmm.
languages. We're going to include the picture right here. It's not covering all of the languages, okay? Because like the tree would be, or the picture would
It would be a
be
forest.
immense. It
Yeah.
would be a forest. Thank you. But they have the same root. And the languages that we share, like English and Ukrainian, too, like our
Hmm.
first languages, they belong to the same family, which is the Indo-European family
That's right.
of the languages. And this is the largest actually family in Europe, and much of Asia is also like belonging to this family
Part
of
of the family
languages.
tree.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it all happened in prehistoric time when people just like they started coming out of Africa, and then they all came somewhere like north of the Black Sea,
Hmm.
where I'm from, actually, my
Hmm.
ancestors. And
Ooh.
then from there, they started spreading like all over the continent. And this is like where the tree was like sprouting. and giving all of those beautiful languages.
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
language develops and changes over time
Of
based
course.
on the region. Sometimes like new words are created, new words are
Hmm.
formed,
Hmm.
but they all come back to a similar root,
Yes,
which is what I
that is
love.
true.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There is also so besides this, there is also kind of in the similar tree line, I guess we can
Definitely
call it.
one of the
One of the
branches.
branches
Hmm.
is the Germanic languages. And so the Germanic languages include a lot of English,
A
a,
lot of
a lot of
English.
English, not all, but a lot of English, German, Dutch, Sweden, Norwegian. So you will notice that this group of countries, they will maybe have more often than not more similar words compared to other
I
countries.
can give a little input here because I do speak German.
Uh-huh.
So German and English share a lot of grammar.
Hmm.
Yes,
By the way,
that's what they
how many
share.
languages do you actually speak, Helen?
So
Little bragging
you
time.
don't have to brag because we were talking before the episode and I was like, I don't want to brag.
It's something to be proud of. It's a big
Okay,
achievement.
so I do speak freely and fluently three languages, which
Hmm.
is Ukrainian, Russian, and English.
Yeah.
And also in my better years, I was very fluent in German and in French. At some point, I was even teaching German,
Yeah.
and I loved it. I love German.
Hmm.
German is a beautiful language and very interesting one with very deep and long history.
Yeah. So I think you would know
So
more
that's
often
the
than
thing
not
about what?
that German and English
Oh,
would have a
yes,
lot of
yes,
similar
definitely. When
words.
I was learning the language and then when I was teaching it, I would often like I could like even see the similarities and like bring
Hmm.
the parallels together,
Yeah.
like how these languages are intertwined. And it does make sense because very crudely, don't butcher me, guys, because English is the baby of German and French,
Yeah.
technically, like very, very crudely
We could say,
said.
yeah,
Yes.
roughly, yeah, we could say that.
So that's why they are very similar. Yeah.
Nice.
But again, touching upon the other parent of English,
Hmm.
the French language. So this is another branch of
Yeah.
our language tree of about our language tree. And those are Romance languages.
Hmm.
There is another branch, and the Roman languages, they include the word languages like French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian
Yeah.
as well.
And they originated from Latin,
Yeah.
which is, uh, I mean, it's not a live language now. We call
Mhm.
it a dead language, but it is the original language of the Roman Empire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it gave life to so many European languages.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. It was a very, I guess the Roman Empire was a very modern society at that time. So they
Mhm.
did travel a lot more. There were a lot of, merchants and trade and things like that happening. So of
Mhm.
course, in places or areas like that, you will have language expanding a lot faster and stronger
Yeah.
than other places for sure.
Definitely, definitely. But again, speaking about English and the
Hmm.
similarities, if you speak or at some point learn French, you guys know that there are so many words in English that are very similar to French.
Hmm.
So very often, if you have very good understanding of the English language, and then you can read something in French and you'll be like, oh my God, this is basically the same. I can
Yeah.
understand a lot of words.
I
So,
I think a lot of Canadian kids or people who grew up
uh-huh.
in Canada will understand what I'm saying here, but we got a lot of our French language knowledge from the backs of cereal boxes.
Oh,
And I can tell you for sure, this is one of my first kind of cohesive thoughts of French where I thought, oh, wow, these are so similar. Like this word probably means this word means probably
uh-huh.
this word. This is where I first remembered this
Yeah,
from cereal boxes, the back of
awesome.
cereal boxes.
I love it. The best education.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why is this happening? I mean, we already told you that English is kind of a baby of German and French, but there are some other interesting things as well.
Hmm.
So, first off, because of the influence of those two languages, the German and French.
Hmm.
So from the German languages, they have a lot of interesting things, especially after the contact with the Vikings.
Yeah.
As it turned out, they borrowed the words like sky, also the words like egg, window, and apparently even a very popular pronoun they.
Yeah.
They also got it from the Vikings.
That's right.
Hmm.
And so even from, so we borrowed words from the Vikings, and then, like you said, French influence. We do have a
Hmm.
very strong French influence here in Canada and America and a lot of other English-speaking countries, including England. But we also have words like government, justice, beauty. Even the word language comes from French influence.
Yes,
Yeah.
so true.
And then on top of that, we also have our Latin and our Greek
Of
influence from
course.
the Romance languages. And so words like education, philosophy, medicine, universities, usually a lot of words that are surrounding things like religion, science, education, a lot of these words actually
Hmm.
stem from Latin roots
Yeah, and Greek,
and
because
Greek.
they were apparently very smart
Exactly.
people and
Exactly.
very, um, oh my God, evolved.
Evolved. That's
Mhm.
right. Back then.
So we can see from like the previous explanation that there are so many different ways of how the words travel through the world. And I guess that one of the most sad but popular one is through the conquest.
Yeah.
So when people were like, you know what, we live on this territory, but we have a lot of people, let's go to the neighboring country and take a piece of their land. So they would go do that, mix with the local population, bring something from their language, then the local people will bring something to their language, and then boom, you have the words that are similar.
Yeah. And we can still see those things now a little bit more recent in history, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of these places that were colonies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have traveled to, for example, Vietnam, and you can really see, even in the language, a lot of French influence because they were
Mm-hmm.
colonized by France. You can see this in the Philippines, where they were colonized by Spain, so conquested by
Mm-hmm.
Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And there, again, for example, family names there are
That's
Spanish.
what I wanted to
A
say.
lot of their words and languages stem from, sorry, is it Spain or Portuguese? Oh my gosh, this is really bad. I will have to fact check that one. And even in Korea, we were colonized by Japan for
Mm-hmm.
a number of years, and you do see some influence of this as well
Yeah,
in the Korean language.
true.
So conquest is definitely a huge reason of languages and words spreading to different countries. Another big one is actually religion.
Oh, yes.
So you have a lot of, what are they called? The people who missionaries. So
Missionaries.
you've got
Mhm.
missionaries from usually from, I think, European countries where they want to spread the word of Christianity or Catholicism, things like that. So these missionaries are sent to other countries where they help with, building hospitals and schools and things like that. And through that, language is shared, and then other words are adopted from
Yeah.
different places.
Another way how words traveled around the world is, of course, trade. We started with this,
Yeah.
with our great examples with chai, tea, with turkeys or Indian birds.
Uh-huh.
So trade played major role in bringing these words, not these words, like certain words
Yeah.
all over the world. And the great examples would be things like sugar,
Yeah.
which is very similar in so many languages, coffee, and the
I
word orange as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a lot of things, foods
Hmm.
and things that
Hmm.
were used for trade. They would have to use similar words. So that
Exactly.
makes perfect sense to me.
Same.
Also, when we're thinking about recently, so in modern times, with globalization, with technology and communication between cultures and countries becoming so much easier, a lot of shared words have also been adapted from other languages. So these are technology related, science related,
Hmm.
and there are so many countries that use very similar words when it's related to science and technology.
That
right?
is so true.
Also, not just science and technology, but pop culture.
Pop culture.
When we talk
Ah,
about
pop
music, when
culture
we talk
does
about
great job.
gaming, music, social media, when it comes to science and technology, you've got words like, of course, internet or smartphone or podcast.
Even podcasts,
Yeah,
exactly.
things like that. And this is actually where I wanted to bring in a little bit of a personal connection.
Sure.
So,
Would love to hear it.
as you know, I mean, not like you, I only speak two languages, and one of them is Korean.
Uh-huh.
And in the Korean language, I think one of the reasons why it kind of was not that difficult to pick up in the beginning is because they actually do take a lot of words from English.
Hmm.
And so most, for example, non-Korean foods are just phonetically pronounced, or they're just pronounced as English words.
Okay.
For example, I don't know, anything like orange juice, pizza, spaghetti,
Even orange juice?
orange juice.
Okay.
Juice is just juice
Uh-huh.
in Korean. And basically all non-Korean foods are spoken like the English
Hmm.
word. Anything technology related or
Hmm.
pop culture related is also used in the same way as English. So in these ways, it was a lot easier to communicate with people in the beginning because a lot of these words were similar.
Wow.
There are other words in Korean that come from other countries influenced. So one that I actually was really that I thought was so interesting in Korea was the word 아르바이트. And
Hmm.
so this is how it's pronounced in Korean,
Okay.
아르바이트. And so 아르바이트 is, as I found out later, it's actually a German word, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it means a part-time job.
It means job. Like in
Oh,
German, the word Arbeit, or like if you want to do it like Arbeit, then
Arbeit.
it's a job. It's a job.
Oh, okay. So I guess the meaning has
Yeah.
kind of changed.
Hmm.
But the reason why we use Arbeite in Korea is because in Japan, they used Arbeite to mean part-time job. And this is because of the Germans' influence in
Ah,
Japan during the
because
war.
there are ties during the war.
Yes. And so when they colonized Korea, we adapted this word to mean part-time job.
Incredible.
Yeah. So it means part-time job, which is a little bit different.
Hmm.
And a lot of other Korean words are stemmed from Chinese
Hmm.
because, again, historically, China was a very strong country. I mean, still is, but was a very strong country. And Korea actually had a lot of influence from China. We actually didn't even have a written alphabet
Yeah.
until the 1400s.
Hmm.
Korean people, or people native to Korea, they used Chinese
Hmm.
characters for writing. And of course, only noblemen, kings, queens were
Hmm.
educated enough to study. We in Korean we call it Hanja, but I'm not. I think that's similar to how they say it in Chinese. But again, a lot of these words, science-related words, older words, words from ancient Korea are actually Chinese words.
Hmm.
So when you, for example, one big one that I noticed first when I was living in Korea was mountain. So in
Hmm.
Korea, it's san, and in Chinese, it's also san.
I see.
Pi, cha,
So
uh,
many similarities.
kanji,
Mm.
juk. It's very similar words. And I've noticed also here in Canada, I have a lot of Chinese friends. We discover always new words that are similar,
Oh,
yeah, in
nice.
Korea and Canada. Yeah. So lots of different things. I think we're running out of time, but I did want to share one more
Yeah,
interesting
please,
thing.
please.
So do you know what Konglish is?
Yes.
Yeah? What's Konglish?
It's like the amalgamation of Korean and English.
Yeah. So it's not exactly an English word that means the same thing in Korean.
Hmm.
Konglish is actually a word that does come from English, but have kind of changed meaning,
Hmm.
or it's used a little bit slightly different. Okay. So for example, one big thing is a smartphone.
Uh-huh.
In Korea, they actually don't call it a smartphone, they call it 핸드폰.
Oh, hand like
Handphone.
okay, hand
Yeah.
phone.
Another one is a one room.
What's a one room?
A one room is a bachelor apartment.
Ah, makes
Yeah.
sense. Like one
They just,
bedroom.
but
Okay,
they call
see,
it,
you remove that and you're like, what is one room?
but they just call it a one room. We also have, for example, like aircon.
Air conditioner.
Yeah, so it's
Uh-huh.
pronounced aircon. We also have like remote which is a remote control.
Oh,
Cunning. So in
but it's
Korea,
not cunning
it's
like a
not
fox.
cunning like a
Uh-huh.
fox. The word cunning in Korea actually means cheating.
Okay, I can see
Yeah.
that.
And this word really surprised me because in Korea, when I was working as a teacher,
Hmm.
some of the kids sometimes would, raise their hand and be like, teacher, teacher, cunning, cunning. And I was so confused, like, why? Why is
What
he
is he
cunning?
cunning?
And it was a whole bunch of miscommunication. But uh, I think Konglish is always so much fun, and I love talking about it with Korean students, especially.
So
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Amazing. Awesome. So I actually wanted to, we're so running out of time, but I wanted to ask you if you can guess the meaning of some Ukrainian words that
Yes,
are very, very similar to English words.
my favorite game.
Yes, your favorite game. So I'm gonna be saying them in Ukrainian,
Okay.
obviously. And you please try and guess what they mean, but again, they're very similar. Okay.
Okay.
So the first word is the word brov.
Brave.
Brov.
I know. In English, is it brave?
It's a noun.
A noun.
Mm-hmm.
Brother?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. Broth? I don't know. I have no idea.
It's a brow.
Brow. Oh, VW.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I have to keep this in mind that
We
we're
call it
thinking about
brov.
Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the next word is the word yeast.
Yeast.
G. Yeast.
Yeast.
Yeah, we just
Gist.
Mm, no, it's a person or people.
Yeast. It's a type of person or type of
Kind of.
people.
Anyone can be this.
Child?
No,
I have no
it's
idea.
a guest.
A guest. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I'm
I mean,
so bad at this game.
no, I mean they are, if you didn't. Okay.
Okay, give me another one.
Okay, here's another one. Voda.
Water.
Water! There you go. Yeah. Okay, and the last one is школа.
School.
Yay!
That's so funny.
Yeah, so I actually was surprised when I started looking for some of the words. Of course, I knew that are similar in English and Ukrainian, but then I started Googling for some more and I was like, oh my God, like there are so many words.
Yeah,
But again, they're
there's so
coming
many.
from either Latin or Greek.
And now we know
That's good.
why,
Yeah, and
right?
now we know why.
I had so much fun
I had so much fun too.
researching and looking into these words and talking
Me
about words. It's really one of my favorite topics.
Same here. Yeah. So you guys let us know, please, via email at eslpoducateme@gmail.com or drop us a line on our Instagram page at PoducateMe and tell us about some words that are similar in your first languages and in English, or maybe you have some interesting stories like
Yeah.
about turkeys and Indian birds or Chinese
Historical
teeth,
origins of
historical
words. Love
origins.
that stuff.
We would love to hear them, especially if like, okay, English and French, they're like brothers.
Yeah.
But when we talk about Russian or Ukrainian and English, they're like such distant cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have examples like this, we would love to hear from you.
That's right. And keep on listening because we've got our language lab where we talk about all of this vocabulary coming right up.
Yeah. Bye.
Stay tuned. We have the language lab coming up next.
Welcome back to Language Lab, where we travel across languages without paying for extra baggage.
That's right. And in our latest episode, we talked about similar words across different languages. You know, those ones that make you go, wait, that sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm. And some words traveled through trade routes and some evolved naturally. And some of them just feel like languages accidentally copied each other's homework.
All right, so let's get started. Our first word for today is intricacy. And intricacy means like complex or complicated detail or structure. So, you know, languages are full of intricacies. You've got like little tiny pronunciation changes, and it can completely, change the meaning of a
Mhm.
sentence or things like that. So it's very complex.
Very complex. Origin is the word that is next on our list, and origin means the beginning or source of something. We were talking, of course, about the origin of words and that they are basically like kind of a linguistic detective work. But you can also see it in a lot of movies, especially that have like sequels, prequels, like Batman, the
Superheroes.
origin. Yeah, true.
All superheroes have an origin
Of
story.
course.
How did they
Yeah.
become a superhero?
Mhm.
Hypothesis. This brings me back to science class in elementary school. A hypothesis is an educated guess or kind of like a proposed explanation of something. So it is an explanation based on some kind of scientific facts or
Mhm.
actual something that you actually learned to explain something. So, we have a lot of different hypotheses, which is the plural of
Mhm.
hypothesis, for a lot of things that we can't actually fully explain.
Yeah. The next word is Silk Road. We did mention it in our episode that it brought so many words across the entire world, and we asked you to Google for it, but if you didn't Google, here is the explanation. So, the Silk Road, usually written with capital letters, both words, is a historic trade network connecting Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. It transported silk, thus the Silk Road, spices, ideas, and as we mentioned, vocabulary as well.
I think it was one of the first documented trade
Mm-hmm.
routes in history. Speaking of, our next word is route, or sometimes pronounced route. And a route is a path or a way to go from one place to another place. Simple as that. When you open up your Google Map and you type in a couple of directions, it will show
Mm-hmm.
you the route, the fastest route.
Mm-hmm. Commodity is a valuable product that can be traded. Like back in the day, salt and silk, as we mentioned, were very major and main commodities.
Redundancy. I love redundancy and I love this word because it kind of sounds like the meaning.
Like the yeah, like it's redundant.
Yeah, exactly. So redundancy means when something is repeated, and usually it means it's repeated unnecessarily. But I love it because the word kind of has that da 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 kind of
Mhm.
sound to it. So it shows what the meaning is, kind
Mhm.
of.
Withdraw, a very good word when you're withdrawing money, and it means to remove or to pull something back. So you can withdraw money or you can withdraw from a painfully awkward conversation.
I do not want to be a part of this anymore.
Yep, I'm removing myself from here.
The next phrase is the phrase to have something to do with. And when we use this phrase, it means that it is connected to something. So this one thing, or A, is related to or connected to B.
Mhm.
So, a lot of different words, a lot of similar words have something to do with migration and trade.
Mhm. Indigenous. Indigenous means native to a particular place or group. Like we were talking about Indigenous people
Yeah.
or First Nations, as they're called here in Canada. You can also talk about Indigenous species like turkeys. If you guys remember, they're Indigenous to Mexico.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Merchant. We mentioned this a couple of times in our episode because they were so essential to sharing languages and sharing words across languages. A merchant is a person who buys and sells goods. So, a long time ago, these merchants were the international influencers of
So
vocabulary
true.
words.
Yeah. Blame. If you blame someone or put a blame on someone, it means that you say that someone is responsible, usually for, excuse me, something bad. Like, again, piggyback off Hannah's previous comment, we can blame merchants for distributing a lot of vocabulary around the world.
Korean. Oh, so this actually is, I guess, not even a vocabulary word. It's more of a fact check.
Mhm.
So I was talking about the word turkey in Korean, And in Korean, the word is 칠면조, and I had no idea where it came from. I was just commenting that it sounds very different from the other shared words of the
Belonging
word
to any
turkey.
country.
Yes. So I looked it up. It actually is a Chinese origin word. So it is in Chinese characters, and it literally means seven skins, seven-skinned bird, I believe. And basically,
Seven-faced.
seven-faced bird. And the reason why in Chinese they called it the seven-faced bird is because bird, I don't know, this was a new piece of information for me,
For
but
me too.
turkeys actually can change into seven different colors
Hmm.
based on their mood and what I guess their
Wow.
mood and their
Yeah.
point in life. So that's where it came from. It's really interesting.
Although it could be an exaggeration, we don't know.
Possibly.
And to exaggerate is our next word. And to exaggerate means to make something seem bigger or more extreme than it is.
Yes.
You know, like sometimes the parents of millennials, especially like the father, can tell you something like, hey, when I was 3, I had a house and 3 jobs. Something
I
like
had
that.
to walk
That is an
uphill
exactly,
both
that is
ways.
an exaggeration
Yeah.
for sure.
My dad definitely exaggerates like that. He's so typical dad where he says, "When I was your age, I used to walk uphill both
Yeah.
ways to go to school in
I had to
shoulder
fight
deep
tigers.
waders."
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely exaggerating. Ancestor. An ancestor is the person that you are
Mhm.
descendant from. So when you think about your great, 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 great grandparents, these are your ancestors.
Immense, extremely large, huge, humongous. It's like the influence of trade on spread of the language was immense.
Yeah. Sprout. I can't remember how we use this word, but we are using the word sprout as a verb here. The actual noun form of sprout is like a baby plant, little
Hmm.
baby plant, but it has a little bit of a connection because when we say to sprout, it means to begin growing or
Hmm.
to begin showing.
Such a beautiful thing.
Yes,
Root is the next word, and root has also a couple of
that's
meanings.
right.
And the meaning that we used was the basic origin or foundation of something. But also, the roots are the things that the trees and all of the plants have, like in the
Yeah,
ground, the ones that keep them hold to a place and get all of the nourishment and moisture from the grounds. That's the root.
yes. Brag. I was trying to give Helen an opportunity to brag about her lingualism, her multilingualism in the episode. And when we brag, it means that we're talking kind of proudly about yourself. You're showing off a little, telling people kind of how great you are at something or
Mhm.
how great something is. So, if you really for real, if you know and understand another language outside of your native language, this is something to brag about. You should
Yeah.
definitely brag about that.
And usually people use this word in the expression like, oh, not to brag,
Yes.
but I speak 5 languages.
Which means they're bragging.
Exactly. The next word is the word crude, and crude means rough, simple, or not refined, like raw.
Yeah. Crude oil
Crude oil, that's what I got the word
before
raw.
before you get the gas in your car, it's just
Mhm.
raw directly from the earth. We call it crude oil. Expand. To expand is to grow or increase or get bigger. So, as trade expanded, our knowledge of different languages and cultures
Mhm.
expanded at the same time.
Yeah. Cohesive. Cohesive means well connected and unified. Like a cohesive explanation makes ideas fit together smoothly and more understandable.
To stem, again, we're getting a lot of kind of plant-based
Uh-huh.
words that
Yeah.
are used as different meanings when we kind of change them into a different form. So to stem as a verb, it means to originate from or to start from. So as we were talking about in the episode, a lot of words stem from ancient languages.
Hmm. Yeah. The next word is very historical, I guess. You can
For sure.
see it in a lot of historical books or movies, and it's the word conquest. Conquest means to take control or taking control of a place by force. And historical conquests spread languages faster than social media trends nowadays.
Amalgamation. An amalgamation is kind of like a mixture or a blending of different things when things are kind of all mixed together. So, English, for example, is an amalgamation of borrowed vocabulary from a bunch of other languages.
Mm-hmm. Cunning. Ooh, cunning means clever and sneaky, and sometimes in a strategic way.
Yeah.
And in the English language, we usually, I mean, not only in the English language, in my first languages, we also use this one with the fox.
Yes.
Like cunning as a
Cunning as a
fox.
fox.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, languages travel, borrow, steal, remix, but somehow they all function.
Yeah. And from ancient trade routes to modern memes, words keep crossing borders.
That's
Yeah.
right. So don't forget to keep listening, keep learning, and
Educate
educate
yourself.
yourself.